Wasn't that nice to have a live prelude? Welcome, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome for the first time. Welcome home. Welcome to our circle of care and love, this beloved community where all are welcome, where we are welcome to be all of who and what we are. In gratitude for the ability to gather safely this way, in gratitude for being able to see and enjoy a beautiful live performance by our beloved music magician Olga, in gratitude for all that sustains us, we gather together this morning on this in-gathering Sunday, marking the end of summer and the start of the official church year. Dennis Duquette is our chalice lighter this morning.
We light our chalice as a symbol of gratitude as we celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this circle of care, we harvest bushels of strength for one another and offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. In the authentic and gentle manner of our connections, we cultivate a simple sweetness to brighten our spirits. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is the sharing of this hallowed time together that sustains us.
In Gathering by Tamara Lebeck. In gathering, in the fall, in the church, in the quiet, in the noise, in thought, in spirit, in anticipation, in calm, in the beginning, in the end, in transition, in gratitude, in hope, in love, in faith, in unison, in gathering. Our opening hymn this morning is number 1010, We Give Thanks.
Somebody gonna unmute everybody? Everybody's muted.
I'm sorry, I had trouble. This is a brand new computer. I've never used it before. And so I ran into a difficulty I didn't know how to fix. So, hold on.
Nobody's perfect.
Dang it. Okay. I am still having trouble. Deborah, would you mind? I know it's new to you. Would you mind reading the story from the script while I try to pull up my script again?
You're unmuted, Deborah. Unmute.
Unmute. There, that's better, isn't it? Okay. The Tiny God by Becky Brooks. Once upon a time, there was a tiny, little, itty bitty, very small, tiny little God named Tiny. She lived her life hearing stories of all the big gods. And, well, let's face it, she was jealous. She knew she needed to think of some kind of special spark, of an idea that would make her existence meaningful. After watching humans for a long time, she hit upon something that just might work. Something to make people think, yeah, that Tiny has really got a good idea going. This was it. This was going to make her famous. Ready? Ready? Here it is. You are not alone. She took the form of a very light breeze, and in a voice so quiet, each person heard it only in their mind, she said, "You are not alone. You are not alone." People loved it. It was perfect because who doesn't want to hear that? Pretty soon, Tiny was comforting people all over with, "You are not alone." Every evening, she took the form of the breeze and whispered it in people's minds. Until one day, she encountered someone who wasn't comforted at all. When Miriam heard Tiny's words in her mind, instead of feeling comforted, she felt agitated. Something was just kind of off about it. She kept saying it over to herself over and over again. "You are not alone. You are not alone." She tossed and turned. She couldn't sleep. In the morning, she went to read the paper, and instead of skimming everything, she found herself drinking in every story. She was only halfway through when she found herself crying. "I am not alone," she said. "I am connected to every one of these people. They live in my town. They live in my country. They live in my world. They love their children like I love mine. They're scared, and sometimes so am I. They hurt like I hurt. I am not alone. I can help." Tiny was surprised. It hadn't occurred to her that someone might think of it that way. Tiny kept watch over Miriam to monitor this interesting development. Miriam and a coworker met online in a meeting and talked about a law that they hoped the Senate would pass. And Tiny noticed when Miriam wrote a letter to her senator about it right away. She noticed that when Miriam turned in her grocery order, she bought a few extra items and gave them to her neighbor. She left them on her porch with a colorful note. She noticed that Miriam had tears in her eyes when she joined in her congregation's worship on her computer, and she heard her favorite hymn through the small speakers. Miriam got out her phone and made an extra donation to her congregation. Tiny watched as Miriam wrote postcards to friends and family near and far, waved to the dog walkers who passed by her house, and she strung up colorful lights in her living room window. But most importantly for Tiny, she noticed when Miriam received a phone call one evening from a friend she hadn't heard from in a long while. His voice was shaking. "I'm having a hard time," he said. He started to tell her about his troubles, but he began to cry. Miriam got herself comfortable in her favorite chair. "Take your time. I'll stay on the line with you. You are not alone. I am here. I am here." Tiny heard those words like an echo in her mind. You are not alone. I am here. You are not alone. I am here. Can you all say that with me? You are not alone. I am here. Just one more time. You are not alone. I am here. Tiny knew that she was nothing without Miriam's hands and heart and spirit. And she knew what she wanted, what the world needed more than anything was what Miriam had learned to give. So Tiny went to work. Instead of just spending her evenings spreading the gospel of you are not alone, she spent her night times doing it too, and her mornings and her afternoons, and pretty soon she was spending every moment doing it until she became the breeze itself. And that is why there are no paintings of Tiny, no busts or holy books, just a gentle breeze, a low voice, loving hearts, and a caring spirits. You can hear the echo if you listen closely. You are not alone. I am here. When water bottles are left in the desert for those who risk their lives to cross it, you are not alone. I am here. At the bedside of a dying man, you are not alone. I am here. In the jailhouse and the sanctuary, you are not alone. I am here. Separate and together. And one more time, let's say it together. You are not alone. I am here. May it be so.
Now, this is the time that we take with each other, a time to open our hearts and share our stories for joys and sorrows. And let us sing together, Draw the Circle Wide. Will you join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation? In These Days of Fire by John and Sarah Gibb Millspaugh. Let us pause and breathe and be in touch with the sacred presence that permeates all, including us here now. Web of all, of life, death, and renewal, we open our hearts to those who suffer as a result of wildfires. We have seen on our screens and TVs, in our newspapers, outside our windows, the pillars of smoke rising by day, the flames tall as buildings illuminating the sky at night. Landscapes once familiar have turned alien. The sun has turned red as blood, the earth and the plants turned black, the air filled with ash that drifts like snow. We have lost our homes and ecosystems, human and animal life, and our sense of stability. We've been reminded that all Earth's creatures must one day succumb to death's patient insistence. Spirit of life and love, in testing times like these, we stand in awe before the mystery. In these days of fire, some of our loved ones, some of us perhaps, have fled our houses in great haste. And some of us as quickly have opened our homes to the stranger. We have seen death sweep the landscape, but we know life will renew itself, that the forests will rise again, ecosystems will fill with life, and future homes will fill with love. We know life renews itself even now, as human good springs up in the face of disaster, and people reach out to one another within neighborhoods and across the continent, serving one another across every difference. Web of all of life and death and renewal, through all the seasons of our lives, may we find the courage to reach out in sympathy or need. May we feel within us the life force that stirs under the embers, waiting to be reborn. May the compassion and care we have found amidst the flames carry us now and remain with us as we move into those times and places where we might more easily close our hearts. We pray for strength, and finally we pray for gratitude for all that is not lost and all that we can rebuild. May we be the rebuilders. Shalom, salam, namaste, blessed be, and amen.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In storm and rain, sorrow and pain, still will remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
Our reading today is The Wellspring of Moral Action by Sharon D. Welsh. The wellspring of decency is loving this life in which people die, people suffer. There are limits. We make mistakes. The wellspring, then, of moral action is not utopia, not a counterfactual vision, not a declaration that the world could and should be otherwise. Rather, it is a deep affirmation of the joy, the richness, and the blessing that the world is. The ground of challenging exploitation, injustice, and oppression is not a vision of how the world could be or will be in the future reign of God or after the revolution. The ground of challenging injustice is gratitude, the heartfelt desire to honor the wonder of that which is, to cherish, to celebrate, to delight in the many gifts and joys of life.
Wow. The ground of our work is to cherish, to celebrate, to delight in the many gifts and joys of life. And yet, how difficult that can sometimes be. How can we be aware of the suffering, injustice, and struggles in our world and still feel grateful for our blessings? I know I sometimes feel guilty when I think of all the people who don't have the basic things I enjoy every day. Freedom to go where I want, to speak my mind, and to participate in our democratic process. Enough food, shelter, clothing, and transportation. Heat in winter, air conditioning in summer. Steady employment in a job I happen to love. So many people have none of these. Is it selfish to celebrate and delight in these things? And yet, I keep coming back to what I have preached several times before. We can only save what we love. An activism grounded in guilt will burn us out. The path to effective staying action is grounded in love for the rich blessings of life, coupled with the deep desire for all of our fellow beings to share those blessings. Last week, I talked about this book, Active Hope, how to face the mess we're in without going crazy. The authors identify the work that is needed as a work of connection or reconnection with all that is good, the natural world, our families, our beloved community, ourselves. They visualize the work that reconnects as a spiral. It maps out an empowerment process that journeys through 4 successive movements or stations, rooted in gratitude, honoring our pain, seeing with new eyes, and going forth. They identify gratitude as the foundation for this work because gratitude enhances our resilience, strengthening us to face disturbing information and challenging situations. In many ways, this has been a rough summer. At least it has been for me, and I suspect that many or most of you may have found this summer challenging as well. The pandemic is far from over, and the precautions and the healthcare crises and the appalling death toll will be with us for many months to come. There are so many other crises right now as well, and while we can see the possibilities for transformation within the chaos, at least at times, we can see that, there are no guarantees. The losses are great, and the worry can be overwhelming at times. It may also have been a joyful, enjoyable summer. In some ways, it has been for me as well. Great tragedy and fun and laughter can coexist. And here we are. We have arrived here, gathered together again. We have all gotten through the summer months. In talking with many of you over the past few weeks, I've heard expressions of gratitude, things that have blessed your lives and helped you keep your spirits up. And often as not, it has been the small, simple, everyday joys that have been most important to keeping your emotional and physical reserves filled up. I read this little poem the other day, Who Am I Not to Be Blessed, by my colleague, Reverend Chris Jimerson. In moonlit shadows, at the edge of night-darkened oak trees, I see it. Across sunny pathways, in the buzzing of insects, among the flowering forest greenery, I hear it. From the touch of loved ones, the embraces of those gone before me, I feel it. In the poems I love dearly, the songs that speak to my heart, the sculpture that catches my imagination, the discoveries still to be made, I sense it. It is in the fire of distant suns, the cool drip of waters, the slight chill in the breeze, the laughter of children, no matter what their age, old and young, grown and still small. It is the breath of life, the stardust of souls, the magic of remembrance. Who am I not to surrender to it in gratitude? Who am I not to be blessed? Those words echo in my heart. Who am I not to be blessed? And so this morning, I invite all of us to think for a few moments about the small, simple things that we have found to be important in sustaining our hope and delight. What little things have sustained you over the summer? Well, think about this for a few moments. And then if you'd like to share, we'll just do it popcorn style, unmute and share. And if two jump in at once, we'll yield.
This is Kathleen, and I've been primed for this because I spoke at school committee meeting last week for K-8, not the committee I serve on. It looked as though music, art, library, and gym would be received every 16 to 17, even 18 days, the schedule not being quite firm, but the values being there. So I would like to say in this time, haven't we had the opportunity to read more, to do more stitching? People walk by my house, especially in the first couple of months, it was hundreds of people a day. Everybody was going outside. People were in nature. The library, the source of all inspiration and information, you would keep that from a child who's been on devices all this time. So I spoke passionately and knowingly, and the superintendent already knew that I would be saying that, but we spend our time in what those things are called, the specialties. There may be somebody out there that was messing around with calculus formulas. I don't know, just to kind of keep it sharp, just explore things, right? I mean, I got to give that credit. It's all cool stuff. It teaches you how to think. It teaches you how to problem solve. But what are you going to do with it when you have time? You're going to figure out how to do something artistic. You're going to figure out, I've so enjoyed playing music every day. Every day.
A little thing that has sustained me over the summer is I really love how the earth keeps rotating. It really makes my day. And dad jokes are what help sustain, are a little thing that sustained me.
Some of the things that have sustained me is I created a little a fire escape garden for myself. So I don't have like a patio at my apartment, but I have a fire escape, and I created a beautiful garden on it and I put some bird feeders up, and so I was able to sort of enjoy the company of the birds and just the vibrancy of the different colors of the flowers on my garden. And so that's been something that's been great. I also have been swimming in Walden Pond, which has been really beautiful. And I had the opportunity to swim in some fresh, some like spring-fed ponds in Sturbridge this summer. And just to enjoy swimming in pools has been nice for me. It just sort of it sort of tamps down I think my parasympathetic nervous system. And so I've been grateful for all of that.
I've been very grateful for the availability of some good books to read, and I feel a little strange because what I get out of reading the good book is I get distracted from all of the awful news and so on, and it's just sort of a period of time in which I'm not obsessing about the bad news. So I'm not quite sure this is a good thing, but it's certainly been helpful to distract me.
I was going to say the same thing. I've been doing a lot more reading. Like Sunday mornings, I read most of the morning until it's time to get up for church. I know that's lazy, but it's necessary. That and repainting the house. Ask Dave. Cats are getting nervous.
I was going to say that my children have been I'm so grateful, but they're not little things. They're huge things in my life. And then I was cheekily thinking that a little thing is medication. I have benefited from a 5 milligram change in my medication so tremendously for my job while working at home. So I'm really grateful for the medication.
My dog is my daily sustenance. She gets me out 3 times a day into nature. So I make a point every time I walk with her to notice something beautiful in nature, either a cloud or the blue sky or a flower or a bird. I even saw a monarch butterfly one day, which made me think, I used to see butterflies all the time. Now I never see butterflies. And she gets me meeting up with other dog people, and so my dog and FaceTiming with my daughter and grandson.
What has sustained me is we have a little fire pit. Some of you have been around it in the backyard, and we invite different neighbors or friends to come over, very few at a time, all socially distancing. And just having that hour or so of just communing has been so important. And Carolyn, along with you, my little dog who gets me out in the morning and yaps to get me out again, just as great therapy.
I would like to add that on a more personal note, that one of my favorite things to do, and I hope it passes Lynda Clark's test. I'm really on pins and needles here, Lynda. I have him on a mask, and I put a quilt over me, and I hug Dick, and I scratch his back, which he loves. He's almost like a dog that gets going when you scratch his back, but he just did really hug into him. So I'll await a text from Lynda whether this passes the muster or not. He sure loves it too.
You know, I think that's what I miss the most is touch. Casual touch, good hugs upon greeting and leaving people. I think for all of us, I'm sure I'm not alone, that's been very hard.
one of the things that really sustains me is cooking. I just love looking at what I have and figuring out what creative thing I can do with it.
Hi, unlike, or like very many people here, I think the thing that has sustained me is being able to go out in the woods, go out in nature. As Kathleen said, there were a lot of people originally in March and April going by our house that we'd never seen. That's calmed down. Maybe it's because of the leaves and we can't see through anymore, but having my dog insist on taking me for a walk every day is sustained me, and it's so nice to be able to go out and, you know, that comfort, the touch to do that with Corey every day is I think without that I would have gone crazy.
This is Carlene. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We have a summer camp up in New Hampshire that's been in my family for 4 generations, and we were very privileged to be able to spend 3 weeks up there this summer, and it was an absolute joy. We got to see relatives that we don't see very often, and to go in the lake, and it was practically deserted. I mean, there's like nobody around, and it was absolute heaven. And it's good to be back here.
Yes, I'm sure that a lot of you will know, you know, I live alone, so I didn't expect that this social isolation thing was going to affect me very much. But what had surprised me a lot was how much I valued the contact with other people. And what has sustained me through this time more than anything else is the contact with my friends and other people at First Parish. And that really has meant a great deal to me. It's really made it something that is a tolerable situation. I mean, it's just been enormous. So, in a very real way, I can say that First Parish has sustained me through this. And I think it was mentioned by someone earlier that this is sort of an accumulative kind of thing. Maybe more so for somebody who's living by themselves. Maybe not. I usually think that, well, if I had somebody else living here, I at least have somebody to argue with. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for the sharing that you've done. This has been really lovely.
Reverend Lynda, I'm going to mute all. Could you then unmute yourself?
I will, yes. There we go. Okay. And now I want to end our service by leaving you a blessing. Blessed is the Path by Eric Williams. Blessed is the path on which you travel. Blessed is the body that carries you upon it. Blessed is your heart that has heard the call. Blessed is your mind that discerns the way. Blessed is the gift that you will receive by going. Truly blessed is the gift that you will become on the journey. May you go forth in peace.
The flame is extinguished, but not our hope for the future, our courage in the face of crisis, or the love we share in all the world.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Why-ya-ya, 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 why-ya-ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Why-ya-ya, 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 why-ya-ya.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been so wonderful to spend this time with you.